Hi, it's Yolanda Beattie, founder of Future Impact, and I'm here today with Ben Graetzer from the Victorian Funds Management Corporation. That's the sovereign wealth fund for the state of Victoria. Today we're talking about investment risk and the skills that you develop as part of an investment risk professional career. We're going to be capturing a little bit about the type of skills and experience, how to develop it, and what are the great opportunities for anybody considering a career in investments by pursuing the investment risk career path. So Ben, if you could start by just introducing yourself, what your title is, what you do at VFMC, and then we'll get into the discussion around risk.
Great, and hello, Yolanda. So my role is Senior Manager of Portfolio Risk at VFMC. So what that covers is really a whole range of portfolio analytics and insights from a risk lens, but just more broadly in terms of some of the risk aspects of the portfolio and some of the insights on some of the exposures. And that really leads into better understanding our portfolio and optimizing our portfolio for our respective clients. So we will look at a range of portfolio risk and analytics from the bottom up. So looking at our individual exposures and how that evolves into different asset classes that we invest in, and then that whole portfolio to get an understanding of some of the risks involved in how we invest.
Yeah, great. So maybe we start with the basics and really get into what is investment risk and why is it important?
Right. So I think investment risk, I believe, really brings a different perspective on our portfolio and understanding some of the broader dynamics around how we construct portfolios, not just focusing on returns, which are obviously critical in delivering performance, but actually shaping the risks and how much risk can be taken in order to achieve those objectives. So we know that it can be a bumpy ride in markets, and actually understanding the volatility around that, some of the scenarios, some of the movements in markets, and trying to potentially limit some of those risks on the portfolio, but potentially at times taking more risks. And I think by building a range of analytics and insights in the portfolio, it helps us optimize our portfolio to actually bring better risk-adjusted returns ultimately.
So tell me, what are some of the skills that exist across the team, skills and experience that you need to develop to move into an investment risk function?
Sure. So I think some of the things are a given. So I think you need to be smart, you need to enjoy numbers. I think critically you need to be really interested in investments. But most of all, I think you really need to have a curious mindset and really want to understand the way something is and then delve into it deeper. So sometimes it does require not just looking at the surface, but actually understanding what's actually driving something within the portfolio, a particular risk insight. And that's a way that our role can actually add value into the investment decision-making process. So I really think that people that bring that curiosity, that are willing to understand more, is where we can actually add a lot more value. And those skills aren't always easy to be taught and understood. So I think that is something that really is more of a personality trait for those people that we look for getting into the investment risk area.
Yeah, okay, great. So what are some of the specific experiences that you might be having, particularly if you're in an early stage of your career, you're already working a couple of years out of university? What are the types of roles that you might be looking to build that exposure and experience to set you up for success in an investments risk function?
So I think, look, in terms of our team, we look for a range of experiences. So there's no defined career path, I think, to get you into this role. I think we actually value diversity in terms of background and thought in terms of the investment risk process. It's also a relatively new area within the investment landscape, I think, particularly in the Australian funds management industry. I think if you look at banks, it's a role within sort of market risk that has existed for quite some time, but it's certainly an area building out within the funds management landscape. And so really we're looking at a range of experiences. So that might be someone that's come from more of a banking market risk role. It might be someone who's come from a performance risk. It might be someone with more of a quantitative numerical background with some risk exposure. So I think there's some kind of commonalities in terms of some of the required skills and the backgrounds, but I think really we do value a range of backgrounds that actually just might be appropriate in the role and helping us, I guess, better understand the portfolio and the analytics that we provide and value.
Yeah, great. So I'm hearing it's lots of numbers, lots of data and analysis in order to be able to see and analyze risks and impact on returns. Maybe if we could bring it to life a little bit with an example of a type of risk that you would be monitoring and the data you would be using to do that monitoring.
Yeah, that's a good question. So look, we actually model our entire investment portfolio, and we have many asset classes, and we're investing in things like equities and thousands of positions in there. We're investing in fixed income, the hundreds of positions in those markets, and then we have things in unlisted, so property, infrastructure, and so our risk system and our approach brings all those assets together to understand what the ultimate risks are for our client portfolios. We might see that evolving over time. So we might see the aggregate risks actually increasing, but then it's understanding where's that coming from and what's actually driving that. Is that a change in our portfolio due to investment decisions, or is that a change in the market data to actually capturing in more volatility in the market or greater uncertainty? And so then it's delving into where is that risk coming from, and are we getting compensated to taking those risks, or are those risks that we need to manage or reduce? So I think that's ultimately where we can better add value to the investment process. It's having that range of analytics to provide insights into the portfolio, but then it's actually using those insights to actually recommend or provide a change in the portfolio positioning to better optimize those portfolios.
So it's such an important part. One thing is about seeing the opportunities in the markets to generate returns and capturing investment opportunities, and others, then how do we manage and adjust based on those risks? So then, as a final question, Ben, what would you say you love most about your job, and why would you recommend it as a career path for young people just starting out in the investments world, or just starting out, looking to forge their career?
Great question. Well, I think the main thing that I love about my job is actually just sitting across the whole portfolio and understanding everything that goes into it, from the individual nuances of specific asset classes to how all of those asset classes fit together and relate to each other, how they interact, and then how we actually build a whole portfolio of assets to actually achieve our overall client objectives. And so once we construct that portfolio, it's then got to actually achieve the client investment objectives, both from a return and risk perspective. And so we kind of get involved from all those investment decisions, leading up to that from an asset class level, and then at a top-down level, how we construct our portfolios and understand some of the risk dynamics. So I really enjoy the fact that we understand that full process and that we're involved in really understanding at every level of the portfolio. And I think sitting in investment risk, particularly at VFMC, really gives you exposure into that. Plus, there's also room to actually look at other things happening in the market and understand how that might impact our portfolio. So it's actually potentially looking at some new research or new interesting things going on in the market, and actually what insights can we provide from our perspective that might improve our overall investment performance. So there's some of the things I value. I know it's different at different organisations, but I think just that curiosity comes through in terms of us being able to be really interested in what's happening and then relate that to improve portfolio outcomes.
Yeah, so that ability to sit across the whole portfolio, all asset classes, for such a sizable portfolio, and then thinking about all of the factors that are happening really all over the world and in all different markets that can be impacting risk. Talk about curiosity and broad impact. It's an incredible way to bring all that together.
Exactly.
Yeah, please.
And I would say also, we say it's a more volatile landscape. There's a lot more going on in, say, the geopolitical landscape, or whether we're talking about inflation, whether we're talking about climate. And I think there's a lot more risks to actually capture at the moment. And I think that's where we can provide value. That there's a lot of cross, forces and dynamics. And actually, the role of our team is to bring all them together and actually dissect them and understand them, and then really, what do we do with that information? Is that kind of just noise, or is that actually something we need to deal with in how we invest?
So analysis and judgment, such a big part of that process.
That's
amazing.
Right.
Well, that's been a bit of an insight into what are the job of an investment risk professional, the type of exposure, experience and skills you need to develop. And we're going to be providing some links to relevant courses and qualifications you can do as you consider different career path options within investment teams and specifically what's involved in investment risk. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.